Joining us to talk about sustaining peace, including getting more women involved in conflict resolution, is the Executive Director of the Reed Center, Voke Igoroje. He joins us from Warri, Delta State. Welcome to the program. Well, let me start by asking you, do you agree that some of the traditional ways of resolving conflict in African societies can serve as a model for other countries?
Thank you, Chamberlain, for bringing me here. Yes, I agree with your question. It is very possible, and if you look at the trend of what is happening, you can also see that even the United Nations have begun to export some of our traditional ways of doing things, particularly in conflict resolution. If you look at the panel of the White, which is now becoming a key component of the AU conflict prevention framework. It is originally an African way of resolving conflict in the community by the use of elders. It was that sense that was transported first to ECOWAS, and then it was included in the ECOWAS conflict prevention framework before it was then adopted by the AU Peace and Security Architecture. And essentially, we have the Council of Elders, but because of Francophone and there is actually really no exact translation for elders, it was now changed to the panel of the White, which constitutes senior citizens of male and female, which represent the elders in the community of our African way of doing things.
All right, so let me ask you, at the moment, there's been calls for women to play more active roles in peace and conflict resolution. I mean, women and children usually more vulnerable. And now that the UN, the UN resolution 13256 seeks to address this, what impact could this have in the country?
This resolution 1325 was adopted in October 31st, 2000. And after that, other resolutions again has come, like 2349, like 2242. These are different resolutions that the UN has adopted in support for the participation of women in peace negotiation, in conflict resolution. Because the UN recognized clearly that conflict affects women differently from men. And in the time of conflict, women and children are mostly affected. They are most vulnerable. So it then makes sense that since these people play a key role, they are part of, they bear the brunt of crisis, it is then sensible and legitimate to make them as part of seeking for solutions. And this has been on, and it has worked. I think the UN Security Council Resolution 1325 has been well received by member states. For Nigeria, specifically to your question, this has propelled Nigeria to adopt the National Action Plan.
Okay, the concept of equal participation of women in peace negotiations, what's your impression of that?
Well, equal participation of women in peace negotiation is something that is progressive. And it's not going to come in one day, but we are taking the right step. Like I was just trying to explain, the National Action Plan on the implementation of the Security Council Resolution 1325 give a clear rule for women. The National Action Plan has 5 pillars, which puts women at the driving seat in conflict, post-conflict reconstruction, peace negotiation, and conflict resolution. So I think it's a progressive ideology that is gaining ground. Women would have equal participation, but again, like everything in Africa and in a patriarchal society, it doesn't come in one day. Things like this, a lot of awareness and creation of capacities for women to participate effectively.
Voke Igoroje, thank you for joining us today on Africa 54.
Well, I want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we covered. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa54, and check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Well, coming up, addressing human rights and justice amid a resurgence of violent conflicts in West Africa and advocating for regional peace and security.